Okay, hello everybody. So today I'm going to be doing some translations of other videos, not the conference, because there's a bunch of other things out there that are explaining what's really going on. But one of the things, I'm going to go ahead and start with this video of AMLO playing baseball. And it's actually kind of interesting because one of the things that's been very impressive to me about President AMLO is that every day since he's been in office, he does a live conference, press conference, to let the people know via the World Wide Web or the social web media what is going on with politics. You know, what's going on, what is he up to, what has been accomplished, what's still pending, questions and answers. I mean, every item is open, they can ask anything, and if there's issues that are brought up that need to be attended to, he will assign somebody or will attend to them immediately, right then and there. Now, this is unheard of. I've never known that a president ever did that before, and it's actually quite impressive, you know, that someone would, you know, first of all, work every day like that. He gets up like at 4 in the morning, and then he goes and has one conference where he meets with his cabinet and he finds out what's been going on. Like, you know, everybody tells him what's been going on in every area. And then that way he'll have the ammo when he goes to the conference, he'll know kind of what's going on. So he's updated daily at this conference from every area. So one of the things that I do is I not only watch AMLO's conference, but I also watch other channels that kind of let me know what's going on, because sometimes things just don't make sense. For example, they were complaining about him playing baseball. They brought it up at one of the conferences that he went to play baseball. And I was like, what? You know, I don't get it. What's the big deal? But in any case, so this is a video of him playing baseball. He just went to a batting practice, you know, to kind of hang out, get away from it all. And so he got a lot of flack over this. One of the things that happened was that on this day, the police, okay, so one of the things that happened is that there was a problem with corruption in the police department. So he hired the National Guard to kind of basically take care of safety issues, and a lot of the times the police were the problem, the federal police. So there was like this, they were having this big rally complaining about, you know, having to test, you know, retest, like do a physical exam in order to join the National Guard. Also, they were complaining because they were asked to do a lie detector test, and also to answer questions regarding their background, or to have a background check to see if maybe they had any, you know, skeletons in their closet, so to speak. So they were having this big old demonstration. They were afraid they were going to be fired, and he said, hey, I'm not firing anybody. I'm just, you know, making sure that, you know, if someone goes into the National Guard, they have to be able to do the job, to be able to, you know, running, jumping, whatever it is they're required, or they can do like an office job, but he's not firing anybody. But in any case, somebody had gone and stirred them all up, got them all scared, and told them that they were going to be losing their jobs, and he was taking this and that away. And so since he really hadn't informed on it yet, they were kind of subject to that. And apparently and we'll see some other videos later about who was behind it. But I think it's got to do with Calderon. He was a previous president. I believe he was one of the presidents that took office with an illegal or corrupt election too, and so did Peña Nieto. I believe twice there was a corrupt situation with the voting, and so that's like a big sore spot for AMLO, where if it's got to do with voting and legal elections and all that, kind of like we had with Trump and Hillary. You know how there was a voting situation that they said, or that the Russians were involved in, messing with the voting polls, and that Hillary should have won and all that. But in any case, in Mexico for the past 2 elections, which is 12 years, every 6 years is when they do it, he had been usurped, or they did something hokey with the elections, and they stole it from him twice. But in any case, now he's in office, and so that's a really sore spot, and he's trying to put everything into place so that it won't happen again. But so at one of these, a lot of the press, okay, now here's another thing. They call Fifi the press that is against the established government, or that in any case it doesn't necessarily have to be the established government. It's usually they're against the incorrupt government. In other words, they're with a corrupt government, and usually they're paid very high salaries. Like, say, for example, the previous presidents were giving them all big salaries to hush certain things and to put out whatever agenda they had on the news. And so basically they were kind of paid to make up the news, like a fake news, like Trump used to say. But in any case, this is really fake news. And so there's a few things going on with the media. Number one, the media is owned by what he would refer to as his, the people that are against him, or his adversaries, is how he puts it. So his adversaries basically have control of the media, the television, the newspapers, and all that. And so they do not do coverage on him, basically, unless it's something negative, or they're trying to make something look negative, even if it isn't. They also do not put anything in the news, like if he's coming to town, or like what the reasons are for something not going through, especially when it has something to do with special interest groups that were paying them in order to cover things up so that they can steal from the people, which was a big deal. They stole so much from Mexico, the previous governments, with the neoliberal government that they set up, which was set up to basically privatize everything, and then so the private companies would basically do what they could to damage or steal from the government, or block them from growth. For example, they buy, say, a refinery, and they take all the money up ahead, and then they would stop the building. So then they did that to basically all the refineries, where Mexico wound up having to buy gasoline from the U.S., even though they were, they had all this oil, all this petroleum, but then they would have to ship the petroleum to the U.S., and then they would in turn sell them gasoline back. So, and he referred to it one time as, it's like you have oranges, you give them to somebody else, they make the juice, and then they give it back to you. And that's basically what happened. They would basically buy a company, or like they put in some gas ducts, petroleum ducts, to send the petroleum to the U.S. and Canada, and then they basically charged the Mexican people, and then they kept the rights to the pipeline. So now the Mexican people, even though they paid for the pipeline, have to pay them rent, basically, to use the pipeline themselves. So they're paying on top of having paid, and so this was all done through the neoliberal government situation. But so when he was fighting against this, he basically said, wow, this is really bad for us. We need to get rid of this form of government where they keep stealing from us and weakening us. So that was his first agenda, was to eliminate all the corruption and get rid of the neoliberal government system. And he put in what he called in the fourth transformation. In case you've heard, that means Mexico has had a few transformations, and I can't think of them right now, but it's, like the independence of this and that, when they were independent from Spain, France, and when different governments came into power and so forth. So this is the fourth one, basically. So in this fourth transformation, basically it's getting rid of the corruption. So that's his main thing, is get rid of corruption, and then also to eliminate the situation where the top 1% or 10% or whatever it is get all the wealth, and there was no money trickling down. There was no basically the poor kept getting poorer, the rich kept getting richer, and they were stealing everything from Mexico. They almost completely crippled the petroleum system and the gasoline system by closing down all the refineries. And so now he's opening up quite a few refineries that basically just got closed down, and they took the money and stopped the works in order to make it, where Mexico had to buy the gasoline from other places, US, Canada, wherever. And then again, the same thing with grain, like we have to buy corn from the US when that was our biggest product. A lot of other things that were basically halted in Mexico by these private corporations that came in and basically bought something and then stopped it, so then neither could anybody else do it, nor the only way to get around it was to buy it from somewhere else. So there was a lot of corruption. I mean, it's unbelievable how they looted Mexico, and that's what he refers to it. They looted Mexico, especially the presidents. The previous presidents stole so much that right now they're under investigation for corruption, not because of what they did in Mexico, because yes, it's something they did in Mexico, but it's because what they did, say for example, to the U.S. The U.S. is now after, I believe it's Peña Nieto and his helper. Can't think of his name, but we'll look at the media on that in a few minutes. But anyway, so they brought charges on him. It had something to do with the Pemex petroleum. Somehow they did something illegal and corrupt with that, but it involved somehow stealing from the U.S. or other governments. But in particular, the DEA is involved in this particular case, that they're going after Peña Nieto and his cohort. But in any case, we'll be looking at that one in a little bit. And the reason is because in the U.S., they're really not covering it the way they're covering it in Mexico, because they really dig into it. And so that's why I'm going to translate their news so that you can hear what is going on. And they look up the news. They even look up the American news, the stock market, Forbes, all the and then they put that on their websites and on their videos, so you can actually see and know where to look and so forth. So it's all very on the up and up, and everybody is working without being, financed by somebody, except for maybe the money that they get from YouTube watchers or things like that. But they're not being paid by any corporation or anything like that, unless they're trying to go against AMLO and going against the new government, against the fourth transformation. Usually those, you can tell which ones are those because they try to skew and tell false information. Plus, those are the ones that they show in the U.S. So I want to tell you what's really going on in Mexico, and not to be fooled by the people that are being paid to give out the fake news to the rest of the world. So here is this president that works every single day, and I'm talking even weekends. I've done videos of him on weekends. So Monday through Friday he does a conference, and then on Saturdays and Sundays I've seen him actually on video traveling to a few different places and doing some form of like a convention type of thing, where he meets with the people and lets them know what he's got planned for them, what they've he has like their governors and everybody show up, and then they'll talk about what the plans are, where they're at, and then people can complain and say, hey, we haven't got this yet, or we haven't got this money that was promised, or we haven't got this fertilizer, whatever it is that they've been promised. At that point, they basically make it known, and he's all about transparency, and he puts somebody on it. He calls one of his helpers on the case. Hey, deal with that one. You give him the data and you follow up on that. So he's got people following up on everything, and right then and there it's handled. So I've never seen anything like it, and I'm so impressed. But in any case, so this day, it's a very short video, but it's like 41 seconds, okay, less than a minute long. So he's at at this field playing baseball, or like practicing batting, like a batting practice thing. So I don't know, it's so short I may not even get a chance to translate, but I'll go ahead and translate what I can. He's at the university campus. So he came to do batting practice, just to practice. So like how you hit the ball, so here he goes. He's going to show you what he does. So a little bunt. And so then another bunt to the other side towards first base, he said. I guess, third base, he said. And then now, whoa, a big one. All right. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of how that goes. But I just wanted to show you, what they were complaining about. They were complaining that he was out finally enjoying himself, having a little batting practice, and they made a big old deal about it. Oh, he's over there, he is playing baseball when the whole country is falling apart. The police are demonstrating, and they're holding this big old rally, and there he is playing baseball. He's not paying attention. But in any case, of course, that was ridiculous. And then you'll see later, I'm going to be making a video regarding the other situations, for example, the police. And I'm going to be using a few of my favorites. One is Juncal Solano. She's the El Charro Politico girl. This girl's so animated, she cracks me up, and she's got the best, I think she's one of the best, because she's really fast though, but she does a lot of digging, and she shows you right from the news media, from the all the different newspapers, what's going on, and then they usually have documents, and they'll refer to the documents, the different government sites, and so forth. So you'll be impressed by her. Young girl, and I think her background is really well done. I don't know, I really enjoy it. But anyway, so I'll be translating her, and then also I'm doing Sin Censura. Now this one is kind of a little bit difficult because he does use a lot of foul language, but it's called uncensored and it's not really for children. But he makes his point. He's like, he doesn't hold back. He's like Andrew Dice Clay in the Mexican style, you know. But so I'm going to be doing some videos with him, or translating his videos, and then there's a couple of others. So I'll let you know when I start, you know, who it's from. But I'm going to go ahead and do a few more. But so right now you get to watch this one. So enjoy. Bye.